Well, the statistics are twice as shocking as our national road toll. Every day across Australia, 6 babies are stillborn. But there's a new program aimed at reducing the risk, and we have 2 very brave parents with us this morning, Anne-Marie and Wade Emery. They're here to share their experience. It's nice to see you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
I can't imagine anything worse than losing a child, and to be here talking about it today, thank you so much. Tell us about Xavier.
Oh, well, he was our first pregnancy. We were in our first year of marriage and, expecting a baby. So we were really excited, had done all the shopping and everything, getting prepared. And then about 6.5 months into the pregnancy, Xavier had been really active in the womb and I just noticed reduced movement. So we were rushed to the hospital for an emergency scan and were just told, sorry, there's no heartbeat. And so we were booked in the following day and I was induced and gave birth to Xavier. And that's when we found out it was a little boy. So it was a mix of pride that we had this beautiful little boy, but also utter devastation that he died.
How do you go through something like that? How do you find the strength to have to birth this baby as well? And you also had to go through the process of burying him, is that right?
Yeah, correct.
But you chose to do that, to bury him, didn't you?
Yes, we
did.
Yeah. So, I mean, the midwives and the hospital staff were absolutely incredible. They really helped us through that day. And I guess there's just no choice. He had to come out into the world, and so that's what we did. And I guess you're sort of on autopilot as well, just going through the motions. So
You just have to do it.
Yeah. How do you cope emotionally as a mother and a father and as a couple? Did your family just sort of surround you with love? Did you surround each other with love? Can you talk us through that element of this absolute tragedy?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in terms of one another, I think it was just really important for us that we turned towards one another during that time rather than away, even though we have different ways of coping with things, just being there for one another. And then, our families.
Yeah, we're also very lucky. My family and friends and Emery's family, well, they were amazing about it all. They came down for the birth and they were there for help us with all the funeral arrangements and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, it was really good.
And Wade, you must have been wanting to support Anne-Marie, but how were you getting the support?
I mean, my family and friends were there for me, which was really good. But, like I said, I did want to try and support Emery through it. Like, I didn't have to sort of raise a baby for 6 months and then have to give birth knowing what was going to happen. So I feel that it was probably harder for Anne-Marie than it was for me because she had that connection with the baby from the start, and I just sort of built that connection the day he was born. So I just wanted to try and be there for her as much as I could.
There's still so much that's not known about stillbirth. Did doctors give any indication as to why it happened to you?
So when Xavier was born, the umbilical cord was around his neck a few times. They guessed that potentially that happened in utero and that's how he died, but the tests on that weren't conclusive. And we also chose not to have an autopsy, so we didn't get confirmation around that. But I guess emotionally, that's the reason we attached to it, so we're not just sitting with an unknown.
Now, Anne-Marie, you're working on a Party for Safer Baby program.
Yes.
Is that right? And that was launched yesterday. What's the goal?
Yes, correct. So it's really exciting. The goal is around reducing the rate of stillbirth across the next 5 years.
Because it is a lot when you think 2,000, did you say, a year?
6 babies a day in Australia.
That's
so many, isn't
which is extremely high, and those rates are shocking to a lot of people because it's still just such an unknown.
Yeah. And do you find there's still a stigma surrounding stillbirths? People don't really know how to, what they should say, how you should be treated, how to support you through it. Is that part of it, by reducing the stigma that's surrounding stillbirth?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, there is still a stigma. That's our son.
But there is a beautiful, happy ending to this story because
he's sitting over there and he can see you on the camera and he's...
Let's bring him in. This is beautiful Kai.
Oh,
goodness.
Come and look over here.
Come over here.
Come and look over here.
Mummy and Daddy.
Yeah, there you are. Who that is? Who's on the telly?
Who's that, Bobby?
That's Kai!
So, Kai is 3.
He's 3 in March. So, yeah.
How much has he been part of the healing process for you guys?
Oh, enormous. I mean, he's definitely not a replacement for Xavier, but he has brought an incredible amount of joy back into our lives. Yeah. And stress.
Yeah. It was obviously very stressful going through another pregnancy, but to come home with a baby at the end of this one was, amazing.
And will Kai grow up knowing that he has a brother?
Yes, he will. So he already knows his name and he comes to the cemetery to visit, and we have a picture up of Xavier so he can point to the picture and knows that's his name, so it's really special.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really gorgeous.
Now, sorry, I was going to say there's a public awareness campaign addressing the issue of language. Now, that's going to launch later this year. So what happens with that?
I don't know all of the details of that. I know it's launching later this year, but the idea is around bringing the conversation out into the public and helping people understand what to say in this situation.
And I did see that they're thinking of giving paid leave to both mothers and fathers with it's hard to be serious, but with that have suffered this loss. So that's a huge breakthrough.
Absolutely. I think, the 12 months leave that has been allocated is not paid leave, but there's still a recommendation by the government that a portion of paid leave is granted.
Yes.
But previously, the unpaid leave had been cut back to 6 weeks for bereaved parents, which is
not enough. It's not enough.
When you see those photos of the pregnancy, and and you were talking about how excited you were, and then to feel that immense grief. I mean, these sorts of leave opportunities or options for people to have the leave if they want it are just so important.
Yeah, absolutely. People just need time to process what has happened and plan what they're going to do moving forward.
It is a lot to deal with. You sort of just need that time, just to know that you have that time.
And for employers to give the time freely. I guess that's a big message as well.
Exactly. And I think the important thing to bear in mind too is it's not anything extra that bereaved parents are being given. It's just something that they were already entitled to begin with, and is no longer being taken away.
Well, for support and to learn more, head to stillbirthfoundation.org.au. Anne-Marie and Wade, thank you so much for sharing your story, and we are just so happy that you've got this beautiful little boy here who's so full of joy.
Big wave. Who's on the tally?
Yes. Thank you so much for telling your story. It's really important.
Thank you.
Beautiful couple, beautiful family.
We're back.